Hey everyone, so today I wanted to do a video covering a couple things that I see very commonly for new Glock owners who pick up their Glock for the first time. They start messing around with it, maybe they get a few hundred rounds through it, then they're looking at it and they think, oh, I didn't notice this before. Is this normal, or is this something that broke during the firing process? So what I'm going to try to do in this video is break down some of those really common things that I see people ask about all the time. If you guys spend any time on Facebook forums, I'm sure you guys have seen these questions be asked. So hopefully this will help ease some concerns out there. And I'm just going to try to cover, again, the main ones that I see in hopefully a timely manner. Right now, I'm in TJ Gun Sales. I'm in McMinnville, Oregon. I actually just bought a rifle here. Really good people that work here. I've done a lot of stuff with them in the past. So if you live anywhere near McMinnville, Oregon, I highly recommend that you come in here and check it out. They got an awesome selection of firearms. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get into the first thing that people ask, is this normal? So here I have my Glock 19. This is the one that I carry every day. It has a couple modifications to it that are not standard from the factory. I have a Faxon Firearms threaded barrel in here, and then some Ameriglow IDOT Pro sights. I've done a little bit of relieving under here, under the trigger guard, but for all intents and purposes, for all the things that we're covering today, everything is in its stock configuration. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the tilting barrel in a Glock. Now, there are people who will open up their Glock for the first time and they'll think, oh, well, that's weird. My barrel is pointing up now. Is that normal? Short answer, yes. Long answer, so the way that Glocks and a lot of striker-fired semi-automatic handguns work is they operate off a tilting barrel, which goes all the way back to the genius John Moses Browning. There's a couple different reasons for it. Some people say it's solely to make the feed ramp easier for incoming rounds. That is potentially a case, but that's more of a side effect. Basically, the reason the barrel tilts is that makes sure that the gas pressure is able to exert itself on the bullet as it leaves the barrel, and that the chamber doesn't open up while all that pressure is still inside the barrel. There's a little shelf on where the slide meets the barrel, and as it's recoiling, the two actually move back together. That gives it a little bit of a delay until the barrel actually pops down, the slide fully cycles, and it comes forward. This is a really popular design for, again, modern semi-automatic handguns, because it's typically fairly light recoiling. It's a short recoil impulse, and again, it's just super reliable. So if you've ever locked the slide back on your Glock and you see the barrel tilting up, yes, that is normal. Another thing that I see people ask about a lot, especially as time goes on with their Glocks, is they look at where the frame meets the slide up here in the front, and intuition would tell you that the two lines should be parallel all the way down. However, something that you see in a lot of Glocks is the frame at the front kind of dips up and sometimes comes close to touching and sometimes does touch the slide of your Glock. People say, is this normal? Is this warping? You know, what's going on? Again, short answer, yes, that is indeed normal. Just because of the type of materials this thing is made out of, it does come up and it does touch your slide. Is that going to affect reliability? Absolutely not. I normally have a light mounted to this thing, has no issues with that. Again, totally normal, nothing to be concerned about whatsoever. Another really common thing that happens, and I'm gonna have to take this thing down to show you, is people will be cleaning their Glock for the first time after they go out to the range, and they'll take their slide off and they'll look at their little ejector right here and say, oh my gosh, that piece is bent. Again, intuition would tell you if there's a piece of metal inside your frame, should probably be nice and straight. However, again, this is normal. Now, if you go and look online and you see the picture of someone else's, you might say, oh, well, that looks different than mine, therefore mine must be broken. However, the different calibers of Glocks have their ejectors in a different place in order to correspond properly with where the rim of the case is going to be as that slide is reciprocating back. So the one on this 9mm is going to look different than the 45 or the 40. So if you look at someone else's to compare it to your own, make sure it's the same caliber. But again, if your gun is functioning, then yes, it is normal. Is it possible that it could get bent out of spec? Possibly. However, under normal use, I don't see that being a thing that could happen. So if you're looking inside your Glock and you see that there is a bent piece of metal here, yes, that is normal. Now that we have shown that, I'm going to throw the slide back on here to show the next thing. Some people will be sitting around, they'll be messing around with their Glock, they'll be playing with it, and they'll push down on their barrel and they'll hear some movement. You might even be able to see movement, especially like my Glock 26. You can see a lot of movement there if you press down on where the chamber is back here at the back of the barrel. Again, yes, that is normal. Again, just because of the nature of the way that these firearms operate, the way the slide interacts with the barrel, there is going to be some movement there. Now, could there be a concern in that having an effect on accuracy? Sure. Theoretically, it makes it less inherently accurate than, say, a fixed barrel. However, that doesn't mean that Glocks are inaccurate guns. I would say 95% of Glock owners out there are less accurate than the gun they're shooting. So if you have a lot of accuracy issues, it's not the tilting barrel mechanism, it's probably your fundamentals. But again, if you can press down on your slide here and hear some movement, yes, that is normal. Now, the last one I'm going to talk about in this video is some people have a concern when they look at the base of the frame where it meets the magazine and they see there being a gap, even with factory magazines. And they'll say, well, is that normal? Should it be seated further? Should I buy a spacer, etc.? Yes, it is normal. You're probably noticing a trend that this video is concerning all things that are actually normal with a Glock. Just the way that these things are designed, there is a little bit of wiggle room in there. If it's sticking out a little bit, as long as you can't physically pull it out and it locks in place, yes, it is normal. Now, if you have, say, a Glock 17 magazine in a Glock 19 like this one, you can buy spacers that'll fill up most of that gap. But if you insert your magazine and there's a little bit of gap between your base plate of your magazine and where the bottom of the frame of your handgun is, again, that's normal. And if anything, it's desired to make sure that when you go to seat your magazine, it does seat all the way in. And especially so if I'm using a Glock 19 magazine in a Glock 19, you're never going to be able to overseat it to the point where it's going to limit functions. So don't worry about that at all. Again, it is normal to have a little bit of a gap there. I'm going to go ahead and throw in a bonus one because I just noticed it with this one and I wasn't sure if I was going to have the opportunity to talk about this. People will load up their magazines and then they'll move around with it and they'll hear moving around in there. It's like almost like a kachanga, as the Haas would say. Again, that is normal. This magazine, I wouldn't trust my life to it as my carry magazine if it in any way affected reliability. So if you shake your Glock magazine fully loaded, at least your Glock factory magazine's fully loaded, and you hear rounds moving around in there, yes, that is completely normal. Nothing to be concerned about it. It will function just fine. A lot of times if you just give them a smack, well, it didn't happen there, but it'll usually stop that from happening. Again, 100% normal. It will function, no problem whatsoever. Thanks to my lovely assistant, the Haas USMC, who if you come to TJ Gun Sales may very well be here when you come in. So if you have a question as to whether or not something is normal with a Glock, go into your local gun shop and hopefully they don't laugh you out the door. That's what this video is designed to be for. It's to let you figure it out before you have to go potentially embarrass yourself, which it shouldn't be embarrassing. Everyone's got to start somewhere, but just to let you know. If you guys have other things that you've heard people ask about all the time, is this normal? Especially things that are actually not normal that I can cover, go ahead and throw those in the comment section below, and I'll do a follow-up to this video once I have enough stuff to cover.
I guarantee you won't get laughed out of here. There's a lot of people that just need help.
Yeah. Again, everyone's got to start somewhere. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I still, I'm sure, don't know about a lot of the guns, even ones that I use regularly. In fact, we were talking earlier today about how long it took me to find out that the barrel and barrel extension on an AR-15 are two separate pieces. That took me forever to find out.
You found out before I did, so.
Just barely. I only found out because someone showed a Radical Firearms barrel they bought where the barrel unthreaded itself from the extension. So.
We should do more videos like this.
Absolutely. I'm totally down.
All right. Buy Glock.
Yep.
And yes, it's loaded.
Sure is. All right, so anyway, with all that said, as always, I hope you're able to get something out of this video, and I really appreciate you watching.